Welcome to the mentorship module of the UNC Charlotte Cato College of Education Clinical Educator Professional Development Series. At this point, hopefully you've already viewed the module for the required documents, as well as clicked on the links for those documents. If not, please be sure to view that module as it helps with the overall process and has some information about what clinical educators need to do at the beginning of the semester. Before we get into our next topic, let me speak for the entire college and extend our appreciation for your willingness to work with our candidates and help prepare our next generation of educators. All right, let's start that clinical educator as mentor to our student teaching candidate module. Enjoy. Welcome to the Clinical Educator as Mentor screencast. Let's take a quick look at the agenda for this screencast module. We will briefly talk about how we at UNC Charlotte view mentorship. We will discuss some core aspects to focus on for clinical educators, as well as implementation and further support from the Office of School and Community Partnerships and the University Supervisors for your student teaching candidates. Let's start with the 49er way. This is our college's focus on setting our candidates apart from the rest of the teacher prep programs in North Carolina or online. We intend for our candidates to stand out for the right reasons, and to make that happen, we will rely on a collaboration with our school partners and you, our clinical educators. We hope to create a CE and candidate working relationship that takes mentoring to a new level and creates a new generation of teacher leaders and collaborators who are up to the challenges of the 21st century educational landscape. UNC Charlotte's Cato College of Education believes that good mentoring can come in many forms. But in a time-sensitive situation such as student teaching, we have identified three core aspects that will truly impact how well the CE and candidate relationship progresses. They are as follows: communication, feedback, and collaboration. Take a few seconds to read about these items. We're going to start looking at these core aspects by focusing first on communication. This aspect is critical because, as you can see, the majority of our past unfortunate incidents and misunderstandings between CEs and candidates can be traced back to breakdowns in communication. So it is here that we must start. The three main stakeholders in the student teaching experience are the CE or clinical educator, the candidate, and the university supervisor. So it's imperative that at the beginning of the semester, all three parties establish channels of communication that will be open throughout the process. Additionally, when meeting for the first time together, besides exchanging contact information and discussing emergencies, it should also be discussed that if difficult situations arise between any of the parties, that there will be opportunities for discussing this as a group to avoid further conflict and misunderstandings. Here are some of those common communication issues that have caused friction in the past between CEs, candidates, and university supervisors. They include excessive absences, missing deadlines for lesson plans or assessments, struggling with content, or possibly not trying to implement the feedback that is being offered. Here then are some possible solutions to these key communication issues. This would be a good time in the screencast to pause the screen and read through these possible suggestions. As you can see, some of these solutions are actually proactive in nature and meant to get out in front of these issues. This is why it'll be critical to have a getting to know your candidate conversation at the beginning of the semester, to determine where your candidate's strengths and areas of need lie. It'll also be important to establish some reasonable expectations for your candidate. As was mentioned earlier, some issues can get out of hand quickly, But that doesn't mean we're not prepared for those more reactive situations also. We have documentation that must be completed on candidates in these instances, and even action plans when needed. Worst case scenario removals could even occur, but we hope that all parties will take the necessary steps to avoid this outcome. Our next category of feedback is actually two areas that are very much intertwined, and that is reflection and feedback. The Cato College of Education framework includes reflective practice as one of its core practices to model, teach, and assess. We know that all highly effective educators use reflective practice to hone their craft and rarely become complacent with the status quo. Therefore, we pride ourselves on making that a focus throughout our programs. Our candidates will have many opportunities for reflection, both formal and informal, throughout their program, but none more critical than the day-to-day and summative type reflections that will take place during the student teaching semester. So while reflecting is important, it's hard to do without some forms of feedback from observers, like the CE or university supervisor. The more seasoned teachers will see many things that the candidate will not, and it will be up to these individuals to help guide and ask the right types of questions to lead those candidates down the right path. We have formal feedback expectations that will be touched upon in the module on the STAR 2018 evaluation tool and the required documents module as well. In this module, we'll concentrate more on that informal feedback delivery and some possible suggestions for delivering. Focus groups with clinical educators in the past have yielded suggestions such as daily written notes or post-it notes as situations arise where feedback is necessary. Verbal and nonverbal cues for the in-the-moment type of help when a candidate might be struggling were also suggested. Finally, many CEs we talked to advocated for an end-of-the-week debrief to send candidates into the weekend with areas of need to address, but also send them home with some really positive things to be proud of. These are suggestions from previous CEs and really seem helpful, but if you have other ideas, by all means, please share those with your candidate and university supervisor at the initial visit, because we always are looking for ways to better collaborate with our school partners. Speaking of collaborating, our final core aspect of mentoring is just that, collaboration. We added collaboration as one of our core aspects because we in the Cato College of Education believe that our faculty is very adept at equipping our candidates with the latest research-based strategies and methods in their respective programs. And we are encouraging our candidates to implement what they've learned and put this research into practice. We need the help of you, the CE, to make this happen, because many times our candidates don't feel confident enough to suggest or advocate for themselves in this area. They tend to focus on deferring to the CE, even if that is not the expectation of the CE. The clinical educator is in a powerful position in this relationship, and the more that the CE advocates for the candidate to bring more ideas and strategies to the table, the more confidence the candidate will develop as the semester progresses. There are several ways the clinical educator and the student teaching candidate can collaborate. Here are a few suggestions. But remember, your partnership is by no means limited to these items. Once again, if other potential collaborative ideas surface at the initial visit, document and let your assigned university supervisor know. We welcome anything that will improve the program. This would be a good time to pause the screencast and read through these recommendations for collaboration. So we've come close to the end of this video screencast module, and at this point it's important to refer back to the idea of being proactive in getting to know your candidate, and they getting to know you, to build that level of respect and rapport necessary to work closely throughout the semester. If you have a good icebreaker activity, please plan to start there. If you do not, then we have a helpful template located below this video on our homepage that could start this relationship building conversation. Well, that concludes our mentorship module. Stay tuned for a few quick announcements and directions. We hope you enjoyed our video module on mentoring your student teaching candidate and received some helpful information. We sincerely appreciate your efforts, and we look forward to working with you this semester. Okay, before we go, remember there are 4 total modules, followed by a survey share questionnaire, an e-signature document, and some financial paperwork to complete. Thanks for watching.